Hello, folks. Sanjay Poonen here, General Manager of our End-User Computing and Head of Marketing and Comms at VMware. I'm excited to talk to you today about a very exciting launch that we have in End-User Computing as we're taking the next level of our vision of the digital workspace. VMware coined this term workspace in 2007, 9 years ago, and we're taking this to a whole new level with the digital transformation that's been going on. Today you're going to hear more about what we're doing specifically in the conjunction of the areas of security and management with one of the hottest companies in the Silicon Valley, Tanium. And it's my pleasure today to have a fireside chat with my good friend Orion Hindawi, who is CEO of Tanium and one of the pioneers in the security space. We're going to together discuss where do we see the world of security and management happening in this post-PC era. You're going to love the innovation that this company is doing, and we're just delighted to be partnering with them in the context of some incredible solutions that we're going to bring to you, our customers and partners of VMware. Thank you. Orion, it's a pleasure to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, you're one of the celebrated thought leaders in the security and management industry, and I just am excited, obviously, as we've gotten to know each other, to hear your own vision. Maybe you can talk a little bit about where you see the market today.
Sure.
Because you've got a very pointed view of this that I think is very well played out in the success you're having in the market.
Sure. So we focus on relatively large companies. You're talking about the people who have thousands of computers typically. And what we've seen consistently is people want to focus on the really exciting threats. So, nation state level threats where they've got zero-day vulnerabilities coming in, or very kind of esoteric complex things. And they're forgetting that they don't know how to do the basic block and tackle of management. So often we'll get to a company and we'll ask them, as one of our first questions, how many computers do you have? And I've heard people say I have between 50 and 100,000 computers, or I have between 200 and 400,000 computers. Take a step back and think about what it means if you don't know if you have 200 or 400,000 computers, right? You have literally no idea where your data is. You have no idea what applications you're running. You have no idea whether a patch applies to 200 or 400 or 50 or 100. And when you're in that position, there's no way you can deal with even prosaic threats. Forget about the really advanced threat. What we see our customers doing when they understand Tanium is taking a step back and thinking about the fundamental hygiene that they need to apply before they can worry about anything else, like nation state attack. And really our belief is if you take care of that hygiene, and this is borne out by a lot of studies that have been done by companies like Verizon and Microsoft, if you take care of that hygiene, the vast majority of threats fritter away. They aren't successful. If you look at a lot of the big breaches that we've been hearing about, or you think about a lot of the operations outages that have been affecting customers, they're the result of basic hygiene not being implemented. So applications that never should have been there sticking around for years, or potentially vulnerabilities that should have been patched years ago just lingering. And so our belief is if you can fix that, you can take a huge step forward, and then we can start thinking about things like advanced threat. But the reality is most of the companies that we get to want to talk about advanced threat, and they're forgetting about the basic kind of table stakes of security and operations.
And one of the things I like about you that's I think played out very well in this sort of chart is there's been really no innovation at the junction of management and security. There's been old legacy ways of doing both, systems management, and there's been some advances potentially at the security area. But bringing these two sciences together in this unique way that allows sort of a next generation approach to systems management and security is completely unique. Tell me a little bit more about how you see that world, because that's really what attracted us to the way in which the Tanium story has evolved and the solution has evolved.
If you actually think about security and manageability and you deconstruct them, right, you need to be able to do the same basic four things. You need to know what you have, you need to know what you want it to look like, you need to change it, and you need to confirm it worked. That's patch management, asset inventory, compliance monitoring, software distribution. It's also things like indicator of compromise analysis and forensics. It's always the same workflow. And what's challenged our industry historically is the solutions that have been there have been very bad at scaling, and they've been very bad at being flexible. And as a result, you get these point solutions where they optimize around one use case, and they can't extend it to 10 others because getting one to work was hard enough. We've created an architecture that's so flexible and so scalable that you can actually layer 20 different things on top of it. and use the same architecture to do asset inventorying and software license management. and software distribution, which are very hardcore operations use cases, and use that same architecture to do things like indicator of compromise analysis and forensics, which are very security focused and everything in between. And what we believe we're going to be able to do with this platform is unify a lot of these fragmented markets where customers hate buying point solutions and integrating them, where we can do that for them.
Yeah.
I will just say, a lot of people try and disassociate these little sub-markets because it's convenient for them, right? I can get the 5,000 check marks that are necessary to do this one thing really, really well. What we found is if you have best-of-breed solutions in two adjacent areas, and you're not, as a customer, doing a really deep integration between them, they both aren't very good. Even if they're perfect at what they're doing, when you look at the threat landscape that you're facing, you're not effective at preventing it. If you look at operations, it's the same thing. If your asset inventorying tool and your software distribution tool don't know how to talk to each other, or they're both not very good at scaling to your environment, you're going to fail by definition. And so we see a huge opportunity to come in, 20-year-old tools that aren't scaling, that are really slow, that are hard to use, with SMEs all over the place and huge infrastructures, and really clean this up.
Talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing together.
So I'll start by saying there aren't that many companies in our space that have deep respect from our customers. And when we look for partnerships, we're looking for companies where our customers will tell us that they deeply trust the partner. Because otherwise, even if they were effective at selling our tool, I don't think that our customers would derive full benefit. And what we saw with VMware when we talked to our customers is deep and abiding love for this company. So you talk to the big banks that we work with, a lot of the big retailers that we work with, about who they would want us to partner with. Your name came up over and over again. And I think it's a huge testament to the organization. You also have really interesting entry points for things like management. I mean, if you look at the virtualization stack in the data center, if you look at end-user compute and VDI, increasingly we're seeing our customers standardizing around these because they're so obviously beneficial, yet it makes it even more incumbent for us to provide management. Because if you think about, the legacy old physical hardware, it was easy to know how many of them you had. Much harder in a virtual environment, much harder to know which applications are running, much harder to know where they are and whether they're vulnerable. And so we saw really a lot of prongs that led us to believe that VMware was a great partner. And Tanium has been really, really selective about who we partner with. I think it was an obviously strong partnership.